Okay, so now it's trying to fucking microphone, which is not what I want.
Contest it, and of course we've got several.
You know, I'm as pro-protest as anybody. I'm pretty strongly on the record about that. But if you get into this building, if you are threatening people, you are putting your life in danger and the lives of other people, because the Secret Service just, they don't play when this kind of thing happens near a protectee.
Right. And let me just say, Garrett, from our vantage point, I'm looking at a picture. I know where you are in the Russell building, just across Constitution Avenue. But the Capitol steps are now jammed with people, flag-bearing people. They were, as Katie Tur was reporting,
on the north side of the Capitol building. At first, it was just about 10 to 15 protesters that broke through the gates. But as soon as those first protesters took those steps, the flood came in. There were about 50 to 100 that came in the next wave of protesters. And we were on the backside of that group watching other Trump supporters kind of be trepidatious about whether or not they should follow the group. But as you can see, they have stormed the steps. The Capitol Police were trying to hold them back. They did for a few seconds at the bottom of the stairs, but then the protesters came and overwhelmed.
Tunnels under the Capitol, where all of us have gone, the railroad tunnel, the tunnel between the buildings. There are many ways to get him out of the Capitol building and to be escorted inside the building, underground, and he could come up on the other side.
A reminder, these are pooled cameras. Trust me, we would love to show you the other side of the Senate chamber.
Let me just also say,
flip that sound there right now.
To clear all those people away from that East Front, that's the East Front where Joe Biden, after the inaugural, is supposed to be reviewing the troops. That just to let people realize that's where the outgoing president gets on the helicopter to fly away, if you remember all of the past inaugurals.
Is this Secret Service that's just walked in, guys?
I don't want to speculate, but I had the same. You hit it, Katie. I had the same first instinct there too. Felt like a lot of guys.
A lot of guys.
And
they were motioning everybody
vests.
To get down.
Yeah. A lot of vests, a lot of protection.
And they're doing it again. I think we should talk about just what happened a couple moments ago with Donald Trump saying, let's go to the Capitol, let's go to the Capitol, let's go to the Capitol. And this, look at what is happening right now. They're trying to certify Joe Biden's election, or to count it, Joe Biden's election. You have a number of Republicans who are objecting, saying this isn't fair. And Donald Trump's supporters are taking them at their word, and they are doing what they see as necessary.
That make this decision, and they feel that the people were not heard. Earlier today, we've had some good conversations with people, but as the protesters stormed and broke through the barriers, things have really switched, and there has been an aggression towards the media, as well as just this overwhelming feeling of anger. And so we're keeping our distance, as you can see, but right now it seems that the protesters are just staying where they are on these steps.
We're not protesters, we're patriots, and the election was stolen, and we're going to take this country back.
Yeah, Adiana, we know that the president, he was speaking at around noon today, and at the end of that speech, he urged a lot of his protesters, again, near the White House, to go toward the U.S. Capitol to sort of get through to those lawmakers who are inside right now, certifying Joe Biden's election victory. And this is what we're seeing play out right now. They're taking the president's cue and trying to disrupt this process. You heard a number of those protesters screaming, stop the steal. So, Adiana, before that moment, before some of these additional protesters arrived, what was security like around the Capitol? Because we do know that U.S. Capitol Police sort of beefed up security over the last couple of hours or so, anticipating these large protests.
Josh, we've lost your sound there a second. Josh Letterman, Andrea Mitchell, go ahead.
Can I just say, from watching the video, and you know the view of the floor of the Senate is not controlled by us.
It is a C-SPAN camera.
It is a Senate camera. Those are Capitol Police. Those are not Secret Service now that Pence has left.
Right.
I can see that they have the insignia, and they are Capitol Police officers. One is now in the chair, the presiding chair, on the podium.
Garrett Hake, do we have confirmation of why they cleared out the vice president? I mean, there's a lot of, you could make some video assumptions here, but what have we learned?
Chuck, you know, in lieu of anybody on the phone giving me an answer on this, with your permission from the set, I'm going to run over there through the tunnels and see what I can find out, because it's basically an information black hole at this point between what's happening in the chamber and what's happening in the outer buildings. I mean, You know, when they close things down over there, remember the Secret Service, their job is to protect, you know, designated protectees, not everybody else. So they're not really in the business of telling everyone what they're doing as they're trying to take care of the folks who are on their designated protectee list. I mean, I'm still seeing, it's like the sergeant at arms in the room. I mean, I would be speculating at this point, Chuck. I'm going to just try to get eyeballs on it.
Yeah,
I just saw Senator Schumer's head, and that's the only senator I can ID. But Terrence Gaynor is on the phone. Terrence Gaynor used to be the head of the Capitol Police and sergeant at arms. Can you hear me?
This is Terry Gaynor.
Terry Gaynor, yes. Andrew Mitchell has a question. Thank you.
Terry, we just talked the other day about the security up there. Do you know from some of your former colleagues, as a former sergeant at arms, what's happening on the Senate floor? Because it seems that they took the vice president out.
Yeah, it's out of abundance of caution. I mean, they're trying to determine the extent of what the protesters have done on the inside. So
T-trucks, fire trucks that are coming to the area. Before the protesters all broke through the gates, there were two protesters, one man, one woman wearing red beanies, that broke through the far point of this gate, sat down in front of the gate, and just seemed to be holding their ground. Then the woman stood up, she seemed to be limping, and she was taken care of by both Capitol Police and EMT services. She went into the EMS truck, she received treatment and came back out, and it was about 2 minutes after that that the protesters decided to break down the rest of that gate in that section and storm the Capitol steps. What we're seeing now on the far west side of the Capitol is that the second set of stairs is also being occupied, slower than the one in the middle, but we're still seeing more protesters walk up the side of these stairs, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and I should point out to those of you watching at home where these protesters are right now, at least on the east front steps of the Capitol. That's not a technical entrance to the Capitol building, so this is more of a ceremonial area. You typically see people, like recently we saw John Lewis lying in state at the top of those steps. We saw Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her coffin being carried up these steps right into the rotunda. So this isn't the primary entrance into the Capitol building, I should point out.
Lorenzo?
Yeah.
Lorenzo? The protesters are now shifting from the middle stairs over to the house side. We're seeing a larger group, if Jesse is following them, starting to walk over to this set of stairs.
Yeah, and so Adian, though, that's what's concerning with them walking over to, with them walking to that other set of stairs. Now that's what's concerning, because this is the entrance typically used by lawmakers as they're going into the chambers, and I believe what we're looking at here is probably the House of Representatives. That should be on their side, which is of course controlled by Democrats.
Yes.
Yeah, so they are getting a little closer to the entrance there. I can report as well, according to the Associated Press, that the U.S. Capitol is on lockdown right now because of what we're seeing take place.
Okay, we're also starting to see more police officers coming through this entrance. 1, 2, 3. There are about 10 different vans of police officers. I cannot see how many are in each, but I do see, oh, they're coming out right now, Jesse.
There we go.
They're coming out with their tactical gear on, batons in hand. They just seem to be gathering in front of their trucks.
Yeah, you have to think about the resources that are being used in the city today as well, Adian. You know, you had a lot of protesters. They were over there at the Ellipse near the White House a little earlier where the president was speaking. So you already have increased security surrounding that event, and I'm sure that was their focus. And now, I'm assuming here, presuming that we're seeing the delay in the response from police because they are moving from these other areas of the city that they had that they were watching for the last couple of hours or so today. But you see them marching up.
On the left side, to my left side, Lorenzo, we were speaking to protesters who said there was a bottleneck. They were trying to get more protesters up from the Ellipse to the Capitol, but there was a logjam. And so what we're seeing now is more people coming up from my right side. That's also where the police are starting to gather and go up the stairs. Oh, we just heard what is the second, what appears to be a flash bang. I cannot confirm that that's what it was, but it's the second loud bang noise that we have heard, about 6 minutes apart. But we're not seeing any smoke or any indication that tear gas or any sort of irritant has...
to be such police fanatics, and police this and police that are attacking police officers. Now, I think
Terry
it's
Gaynor,
good now when you look at the pictures
I really appreciate you saying that. And
if you look at the pictures, Terry, just as you complete that thought, the pictures on the East Front, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're right outside the Senate chamber.
They are.
They're on that second level. They're up
on the air right now with breaking news because the U.S. Capitol has been placed on lockdown as angry protesters surround the building. We should note that the House and Senate have halted debate on objections to the Electoral College vote, and they have gone into recess. Senior members, including the Vice President, Mike Pence, have been rushed from the floor, and you're looking at them now. Extraordinary images of tens of thousands of pro-Trump supporters, all encouraged by the president, who said he will not concede, he will not accept defeat, and now his protesters have marched from just outside the White House down Pennsylvania Avenue and have charged. What you're looking at now is the East Front of the Capitol. There are reports that there are protesters inside the Capitol building. We have reporters all on Capitol Hill to bring you the very latest information. This is obviously a serious situation and that has now involved a number of authorities, including the U.S. Capitol Police, the D.C. Metro Police. We know that the mayor had asked for the National Guard. I've not yet seen them on Capitol Hill, but they are throughout the city. Ed O'Keefe is here with us. Ed?
Well, so one of the reasons why these precautions are being taken, and this may seem silly to many, but nobody...
I think this is a good place to be, because if stuff will go wrong, people just run this way. It's pretty clear. Okay, cool.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I had I was the deer in the headlights during the George Floyd. About the first Saturday I was there.
Okay, it looks like we're not going live right now.
Okay. You want to try to ask a couple questions?
Actually, let's shoot a quick look live.
Okay. Which for me? You want to be able to get the wall kind of. Okay. You ready? Give me a little countdown. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2. We are here at Constitution Avenue and First Avenue, just on the other side of the U.S. Capitol, where we are seeing protesters taking over the Capitol. You see some of them scaling the walls now. We are hearing reports that the Capitol is on lockdown after some have been able to get in. We saw videos of the clash between the U.S. Capitol Police and the protesters as they broke their way through the gates. They are actually going up the stairs right now. You can see where they have taken over pretty much this side of the Capitol during the events where the inauguration is going to be held. You see the flags that are up there on that balcony area right now. And so a lot of supporters have been really cheering on the fact that they were able to breach and have taken over the U.S. Capitol. We've heard rumblings that this was going to take place as protesters were on their way here earlier today, and that certainly is now the reality here in the nation's capital as protesters, Trump supporters who are really upset, are making their way through. We're hearing some what sounds to be flashbangs as well, and that seems to be the case echoing on the other side of the Capitol. We are keeping an eye out on things, but no doubt a flurry of activity, some tense moments now as law enforcement is trying to take a hold of things.
Nice. All right. We got one here. You want to try to talk to a couple of people so we want to turn slots later there? Or
Yeah, let's try.
I wonder if we go on the fringe a little bit more than just right here. Although this is where the best stuff is. If people chime in, so be it. That's almost what we want. We almost want something.
They will show the will of the people and that they want President Trump to be confirmed as the next president again.
Our election was stolen.
An interesting juxtaposition is literally right behind our camera is a prayer circle where they have been praying since around 9 o'clock this morning. Even while the protesters breached the fence and stormed the steps, the prayer warriors over on my right-hand side have been praying, chanting mercy. If you can hear them. Jesse, can you show the prayer circle? Earlier this morning, Cindy Jacobs was out here leading the group in prayer, asking for some sort of explicit evidence that would confirm that the election was stolen.
Give up our country to foreign interests
and refuted multiple times that this has been a clean election. And right behind these doors, a joint commission of the Senate and the House are voting to certify the election right now, which is normally a ceremonial event. I spoke to Senator Kaine about an hour ago, who said in 2017, right after the 2016 election, the ticket that he was on, that certification process took about 17 minutes. This one started at 1 o'clock, and it's unclear when it will end. Are you hearing that? Okay, they're chanting "Stop the Steal." It's been the chant of the day. It's the main mission of today's protests.
Go Trump, go Trump, no protest.
Police officers and potentially MPD gathering on the balcony of the steps of the backside of the Capitol building. As we were saying moments ago, when protesters breached the fence, they overtook about 10 to 15 Capitol police officers pretty quickly. And then we saw about 5 minutes ago MPD truckloads coming in of officers, and they have dispersed to the left and right. But now we're starting to see more officers gather on the balcony, where when this first started, only 2 to 3 were. Putting on the right. We heard 2 bang noises earlier, about 5 minutes apart, but no indication of smoke, no indication of irritants in the air.
That's what they're using against us up there. I just came down. I've been pepper sprayed.
Can we get a picture?
Who used this on you?
The cops up there. The guy, they just did another one.
Is it the bang?
A little later. Yeah, the big bangy here. That's what those are. That went right off next to me. Hurt like hell on my leg. I don't know if I got marks on my leg or not, but I'll find out when I get home.
Your eyes are a little red, but did you feel anything?
This is pepper spray. That was a huge flash. Yeah, big. What do you call it? Concussion when it goes off. It says Flash Vanguard, so I guess it's a flash grenade.
Do you mind if I hold on to this?
I was going to keep it as a souvenir. Yeah, I mean, I got the marks. I earned it.
Wow. Is that picture from right after it happened? What is that?
Well, I got video and shit. Let's see.
Wow.
I was right up there.
Do you mind sending those to me?
No,
Here,
who are you, 9 USA?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, if we get out of this, you can airdrop them to me.
I'm not real versed on
I can tell you. I can show you how to do it.
Okay.
Here, let's cancel that out. Let's go to your photos.
Okay.
And then recents, select.
Some of that's video too. I videoed a bunch.
Okay, and then was this one? Oh, this was on the stairs.
This is on the stairs. This is while everybody's pushing, jumping up and down on.
Okay, and then we'll hit this button right here.
Okay, and then airdrop.
And then airdrop. Let me. Oh, hold on.
No people found.
That's because here we'll do this.
Preparing iCloud link. As long as you know what you're doing.
There we go. Let's see.
Does that mean these go right to your phone?
It should.
Okay, there's video there too.
It's not coming through. Hold on, let's see this. Accept. There we go. Hold on.
It'll be.
I think it's just taking a second to come through.
It'll be some close-up video right in the middle of the crowd up there.
Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Dan Stover.
Dan Stover. Thank you, Dan.
Where'd you come from?
Where are you from?
Eastern Shore, Maryland.
Wow. Can you see what's happening closer up there?
In the building. Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't see it clearly.
There's a recess now on the count because of the lockdown in the Capitol.
Wow, okay. So we're hearing that there is a recess on the count right now, that the Capitol is being locked down, that the protesters have breached the actual doors of the Capitol building and are inside. I think that you said we can't?
That's why MPD is on that side.
Ah. Do we want to reposition?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not moving. This is too good of a shot.
Okay.
Don't we have another crew over there?
I think Torres is on that side.
This is Kyle. He invented One Wheel.
What? I feel like I'm just finding out that there are protesters in there.
O'clock tomorrow morning. As a reminder, you are watching a Washington Post special report. I'm Libby Casey, and to catch you up on a dramatic day in the middle of what is typically a ceremonial event, hundreds of Trump supporters have stormed through metal barricades at the back of the Capitol building. That happened around 1 o'clock this afternoon, running past security guards and breaking fences. Some tried to reach the Capitol steps, but they were stopped by law enforcement. Capitol Police briefly ordered evacuations of 2 Capitol campus buildings, the Library of Congress James Madison Memorial Building and also the Cannon House Office Building. Those are both just across Independence Avenue from the Capitol. Congresswoman Elaine Luria, a Democrat from Virginia, tweeted out, "I just had to evacuate my office because of a pipe bomb reported outside." Now, her office is in the Cannon building. D.C. police say they have made 10 arrests. That was Tuesday afternoon and into early today at pro-Trump demonstrations, while Park Police made 1 arrest. Charges included weapons violations and assault. So much of the focus right now, of course, has been by police to arrest people who were carrying weapons. They have not been focusing on adherence to the mask mandate, instead focusing on sort of the immediate reality that some of these protesters have been carrying guns, which is not allowed, breaking D.C. law. So that's been the focus. My colleague Rhonda Colvin has been reporting live from the Cannon office building, but she was evacuated as part of that movement. Rhonda, what's next here? What are you watching for to happen?
Well, we just had a conversation with a member of the U.s. Capitol police team, and she, very honestly broke down that this is still a very fluid situation. They have locked down the buildings that we're in right now. So we are in the basement of the Cannon and Longworth buildings. It's the apex between those 2 House buildings. I'm here with a few members of the press, as well as we keep seeing some House members, too, try to navigate all of this and figure out where to go. When I asked her, they keep moving us and telling us to take shelter, and I asked her where are we to go next, she did direct us to where we can go and have an evacuation route. She said that it's likely that more officers will be in the area that I'm in right now and tell us to keep moving, and they'll direct us where to go. And she was also very kind enough to show us where we could get water. So we are hunkering down right now. The building is in lockdown. I cannot leave until the situation changes, and no one can. No staffers, no members of the House who are located in this building. We're all here together trying to figure this out. So this is something, honestly, if you looked at the last few weeks with Trump's rhetoric, and not only the last few weeks, the last 4 years, this is almost somewhat of an end that you could have guessed could have happened. In fact, I remember talking to our videographer Lindsay last night when we were here reporting on the Georgia runoff. I told her, remember to bring extra food tomorrow because we don't know what the situation is going to be like and if we're going to be able to leave the Capitol, and that's coming through. So we can't open as we've been told by the U.s. Capitol Police. Listening to their commands and following them immediately so we know what the next step is.
From the Cannon House office building. Rhonda, it's just surreal to watch, especially for people who work in the U.s. Capitol building, who reported from the U.s. Capitol building. Please stay safe. James Holman, I was saying earlier that we've covered a lot of protests. The police officers who work at the U.s. Capitol are really used to dealing with the American rights of...
And then you saw some sort of pepper spray back in that direction. You can see, obviously, it's pretty contentious right now.
I know. We knew that this was going to be a problem. Yasmin, we knew this was going to be a problem, that the protesters were going to try to hijack any reporter trying to do their job, trying to report on the protests. And by the way, a little message to protesters: if you really care about your message, you'd actually want to let reporters talk and report what you have to say.
Let me just read an email.
Trying to hijack.
Here's an email from our producer, Haley Talbot, inside the House chamber. We are told to sit and stay calm and wait for Capitol Police to come. Be prepared to get under chairs if necessary. Verify every door is locked, someone yelled. Be prepared to relocate to cloakroom. That's right outside the House chamber. Rules Committee Chair McGovern is telling members there is tear gas in the rotunda and grabbing masks under seats, and be prepared to put it on. So the members have masks available to them. Everyone is freaking out. Members are all holding the gas masks. This is inside the House chamber from Haley Talbot, our very experienced House
And not everybody
producer.
in there has gas masks, guys. I mean, the lawmakers do, but think about everybody else who is inside this building right now that's working, that doesn't have access to this. I mean,
Well, go ahead. Haley says, Katie, that there are perhaps 100 people still inside the chamber. I presume that Pelosi is not one of them.
Wow.
Let me bring in Alyssa Slotkin, Congresswoman, Democrat from Michigan. She joins us on the phone now. Congresswoman, just if you could just tell us what you know. A lot of us, we're watching this, but there's a lot of information we don't know. What do you know?
Yeah, well, we're just all the members of Congress are just texting each other and trying to make sure everyone is safe. I understand, as you guys just reported, that inside the chamber, they're now trying to don some of their gas masks. I just dug them out of my storage supply here in my office. Congressman Andy Levin and his staff have relocated to my office. Obviously, we're sheltering in place. I'm glad to see that the president is now putting out a message that this has gone way too far. But as you can imagine, my text chain is just insane, and we're all just trying to have accountability on each other, make sure we know where everyone is, and kind of the buddy system at this point.
Congresswoman, you had experience in the Pentagon and the CIA, long experience in foreign policy before you were elected. You were a freshman, and just went through another election.
Yep.
Let's take that experience and tell me what you're seeing. And from my personal knowledge, this is the first time there's been anything close to an evacuation from the Capitol of members since 9/11, when they were told to leave the building because there was fear that there was an airplane approaching it.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I think the fundamental difference, of course, when you're at the Pentagon, we always know that there are people who are looking to attack the Pentagon. When you're at the CIA, certainly when I served in Iraq, the headquarters and locations where we were always trying to be breached. I think the fundamental difference is that this was instigated and perpetuated by the leaders, right? This wasn't like a couple of crazy people or even a crazy group that were trying to break in. We all heard the president today. We all heard the people speaking at the rally. It was incitement.
Enemies of the state, it has a consequence on how your core supporters who follow your lead see a lot of these people. It's striking that you have people who are threatening Mitch McConnell, who has done more than anyone to advance the president's agenda over the last 4 years and has gotten more than 200 judges confirmed, all that, and now he's getting death threats, over the last few days because he feels like he's doing his constitutional obligation, and that is a very dangerous direction. A democracy depends on solving these kinds of things peacefully.
James, we just saw police run into the building with assault rifles. We have reports that protesters have gotten inside the building. We certainly saw footage of them in Statuary Hall. Let's be clear, if they're in the building unlawfully, we don't know what they're carrying, because they, of course, haven't gone through the rigorous screening process that you and I would have to go through every time we enter.
We're starting to smell chemical irritants in the air. Not sure if it's OC spray that they were using over the summer,
we don't know if they're carrying
or pepper
knives
spray.
Or guns, and so
it seems to be coming from the right side of the building, but I don't see the clouds of smoke that we're hearing reported from other CBS reporters.
And it's really hard once a secure facility has been breached. It's really, really difficult to say, okay, now we're just going to go back and restart the debate on the House and the Senate side. It's a giant building, and there are multiple levels of checkpoints, but once you're in that core Capitol building that we're looking at right there,
what's interesting is you're starting to see families gather, if you can see this over my left shoulder, and starting to take pictures. A celebratory moment, it seems, for people to have breached the Capitol fence and to have taken over the back set of Capitol stairs.
And that is.
A few moments ago, it was clear that the protesters who decided not to storm forward found out that protesters had actually breached the building, where we know that the count has stopped and paused momentarily while this gets under control.
James, we're seeing reporters tweet
and
out
now we're
photos
smelling more of those chemical irritants in the
police
air.
Holding back these people from right outside the Senate chamber. And as our colleague Sungmin Kim points out, this is where Senators and Vice President Pence are. I mean, this is where they have been held. And until we're notified that they're moved, we're working under the assumption that that is still the location they are in. This is a massive security breach.
It's a massive security breach. And again, I mentioned a couple minutes ago the State of the Union, when they just kind of shut down and seal this whole area for blocks around the Capitol. And
Mayor Bowser issues a
it is kind of striking
for
that
DC Wednesday,
in many ways
January
it appears,
6th,
obviously the Capitol Police were fully staffed, but that this wasn't
I didn't get
set up as that sort of day, since we've known for days that people were coming into
People in the district are receiving an alert right now that Mayor Bowser is issuing a citywide curfew for Wednesday, January 6th. That is today, starting at 6 p.m. until Thursday, January 7th at 6 a.m. Essential workers, including healthcare personnel and media, are exempt. Guys, the last time we had a curfew in place, we think about Swan Street. We think about what happened to those protesters that were penned in on that street. Right now, these protesters seem to be pretty content staying right here on the Capitol steps. We haven't seen any escalation since they've charged those steps, in fact. It had been throughout the day. I think this increase of activity was the only thing that really...
They just got frustrated. They couldn't... They feel the Congress couldn't hear them all the way back here.
I'm not sure that they could hear them now because they're exiting.
I know.
Just to give you a glimpse into the dramatic turn of events, watch this moment from today's proceedings as President Pro Temp of the Senate, Chuck Grassley, is escorted out of the Senate. If you listen carefully, you can hear a Senate aide telling him that protesters had breached security and entered the building.
Those are the sisters from Georgia that
My
we talked to
challenge
earlier.
today is not about the good people of Arizona.
And it will stand in recess until the call of the chair.
We'll pause.
Protesters are in the building.
Thank you.
There wasn't anything you said.
You know, when you listen to people from around the world...
That's from earlier this afternoon. That's when the Senate broke up and went into recess. Rhonda Colvin, give us an update from where you are.
Well, I have moved from where I last was.
That's what I've been.
We were told by Capitol Police to not only take shelter, but to find a locked room. So I am in the basement of one of the Capitol buildings. I'm just not going to disclose where we are right now because the press is trying to work together and be safe. So we're here with another crew in the basement. We were just told by Capitol Police that they have heard that there have been shots fired and to go and find a safe place to lock yourself in. So that's where we're at right now. We're just going to wait until we get some guidance. Those of us who cover the Capitol routinely get alerts in our email from the Capitol Police when there is, dangerous situations.
Stay safe, sir. Do you know where Jesse went? Oh. Oh, no. I'm calling to see if he's gotten out. Yeah. Okay. Wow. We literally were back here watching them as they broke through. But everyone inside is safe that he knows of? Oh, yeah. Oh, thank goodness. And right now they're just in lockdown in the house. Okay. Thank you. Nellie, thank you. I know you're safe, but I hope that your team stays safe. Yeah, girl, yes. I'll check back in with you. All right, bye.
surprise.
Protesters just sang the Star-Spangled Banner, followed by a loud round of cheer. I just got confirmation that senators are on lockdown in the House chamber right now. There's a small group of them in there. Other senators who broke for objections are in their offices. Right now, we have not heard any confirmation of senators that have been harmed. We will keep you updated as we hear more.
Spent so much time in the Capitol building. Talk to us about the rigor of security checks that you normally have to go through and contrast that with what we're seeing today.
Right. Well, the Capitol is one of the most safely guarded spaces in the country, and the grounds are one of the most perpetually patrolled places in the country as well. To get into the Capitol, you have to go through a metal detector. You have to put your belongings through a scanner that does an X-ray check of them. And there's multiple entrances to the Capitol, but each of them do require this level of security check in order to be able to get in, whether you're going into an office building or the main building itself. What appears to have happened, and again, I say this all not having been on site, so it's at a degree of arm's length, but what appears to have happened from the reports I'm reading is that this is a sheer question of numbers of protesters having overwhelmed the barricades, having overwhelmed the police the Capitol Police that were in position and pushed their way inside. I cannot say with authority which entrances they came in, but it appears that is generally speaking what happened. It looks like there's people coming from multiple directions, and it looks like they, first it was the office buildings, then it was the Capitol, and then it was getting up to the doors of the chambers. And again, the chambers are some of the most, well-reinforced spaces in the entire country, but you're in a situation right now where, it's not clear what the next step of escalation is going to be, and so you have these evacuations that are underway, and at the highest sort of tension.
Hey there, can we get confirmation if we can power down our battery? How many batteries do we have left?
From Josh Letterman, our correspondent outside, that a while ago he saw, about 15 minutes ago, a caravan of MPD, Metropolitan Police vehicles showing up and officers in riot gear entering the Capitol. I saw some of them also entering up that east front. So it appears that perhaps, Terry, they are planning to try to clear the area and try to take people into custody.
Right, and the Capitol Police does have a very active, well-trained SWAT unit that works with the Metropolitan Police. But well, listen, it would just appear on first blush that they've initially been outnumbered and lost control of the building. There's nothing positive I can say about that, but there is a lot of things that I know a combined force of well-equipped, well-armed individuals can do a complete sweep of that building with canines and officers, just like you would in an active shooter situation, although I'm saying I've not heard one thing about any weapons being discharged in there other than some of the things that the police department is doing. So they need to begin, and I'm confident, are in the midst of retaking the building. Yeah.
Terry, do they need the National Guard? Do they need the National Guard right now?
They need more personnel, and if D.C. is tied up doing what D.C. needs to do to prevent whatever was going on downtown, I would think at this moment the National Guard to take control of the east and west front would be helpful to calming the situation.
How quickly could they get there?
Well, like you said, the ones that are deployed have to wait for further orders. So we've all been pretty temperamental given what the President and the Attorney General did on the Lafayette side of the White House to want to make sure everybody has clear orders. So I would also hope people are considering the FBI and the Secret Service. They each have large units, whether it's the hostage rescue team or the specialty units of the Secret Service. I would imagine the conversations are being had to bring in other law enforcement officers from the surrounding area to help with the Capitol situation.
Well, the National Guard was stood up by the mayor for this very day, so they are, logistically, they are nearby.
But it wasn't for this, and as you heard here before. Yeah, go ahead, Terrence.
Their mission was limited, and they're not in a law enforcement. They are in a support position where strength and numbers can help out. I think we need to give the Capitol Police and their partners a little bit of time to gain control. I know when I was up there, sometimes the message traffic between members and staff were not used to experience this. Some of the first reports are not entirely accurate. I am getting some reports that there was some CS used in the Capitol. They may have used some what we call sting balls or something to try to round up these protesters. But I just don't have an inside view of that.
Terry, from your experience, though, with all of the tunnels and the connections and the buildings, do you have an estimate of what the square footage is of the area that they now have to clear?
Well, once you secure the Capitol building and then move down into the two connecting tunnels, that would be you'd be going a long way to have secured the Capitol itself. Clearing the office buildings, which have a lot of accesses, especially from the parking lots on the House side, that's a lot more territory, Andrea. That would be that would take a lot of officers to feel that you've resecured the building and you've put canines in there to look for any incendiary or explosive devices. So that's the ancillary things everybody's concerned about. So I would guess that there's some simultaneous things going on, both in the Capitol and securing other areas of the building.
Terry Gaynor, let's be realistic here. To make the Capitol safe enough to have the outgoing vice president, incoming vice president, the next 3 people in line for the succession for the presidency to go back into that building, are we talking 24 hours to fully feel like this building can get secured?
What are we looking at here? Oh my
I think you could. I think you could within 24 hours feel very comfortable that the Capitol building itself is secured. I feel less comfortable.
We got to interrupt. On the right-hand side of the screen,
you believe it was 24 hours? We just
bringing out a stretcher. It looked like a woman, very gravely injured, covered in blood. It is unclear how that happened, what happened inside there. I've just been texting with Congressman Dan Kildee inside the House on the floor. I asked if he was okay. He said he's okay now. I'm trying to get more information about what might have happened in there, but that right there is an unbelievable and disturbing sight coming out of our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on a day where we should be doing something that is procedural, that is pro forma. There's also a little bit of news from the New York Times. Jonathan Martin just spoke with Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney called him over and called this insurrection. I don't know how else to describe what's going on, but the President of the United States, where is he? I know he's tweeted, but these are people who listen to him and follow him. I'm not even sure if he got out there on the Capitol steps right now and said, stop this, that they would listen, but he's got to be doing something.
That wouldn't matter. You're probably right there, Katie, but it is I am deeply disturbed by this other fact here, though, Andrea Mitchell and Katie Tur, and that is the fact that these terrorists and protesters, whatever you want to refer to them right now, if you go into the Capitol, you're terrorizing this country. They have stopped this process of determining, of finishing the process of making sure we know who the next president of the United States is. I mean, I do think Congress has a duty to figure out how to get this done quickly and not essentially let these people win, if you get my drift here. I mean, delaying this process in some ways is what he's also trying to do. That is something here. It's disturbing that, unfortunately, they have succeeded in putting the House and Senate in recess, and our Capitol building is
essentially being held hostage. There's also
not essentially. It is being held hostage.
If Terry Gaynor is still there, I have one other concern from my experience covering the place. There's a skiff on that House side. Okay, well, it's a question for Alyssa Slotkin or some of the other people that we can reach out to. There is an area in both the House and Senate side in the Capitol building where the most sensitive national secrets are stored. And this building has been breached. And so that's got to be one of the places
we were literally
that
just trying to get
has got to be. Also, listen.
Unfortunately, we can't leave this section.
I'll bring them to you. How about that?
Say that again?
If I bring them to you?
Please.
Okay, sounds
please.
good.
Are you okay, sir? You're bleeding.
Where?
On your hand?
Oh, that was the police beating me. They tried breaking my arm.
What is happening?
We can't let this happen.
I hope you're going to report about the shooting.
This is another person. That's the third person.
I didn't hear any shots.
I didn't hear one.
Here's the witness.
They shot her in the neck as we were going
With
through the
what?
window.
With a
pistol.
gun. I'm sorry, that's not.
Like a 9mm pistol.
So it was like a pistol. It wasn't like a rubber bullet gun or anything
No,
like
it was
that.
an actual firearm.
Can I take a picture of your hand, please?
Take a picture of me with it.
What area now?
We were in like a speaker chamber of some kind.
Oh, so it was inside.
It was
the chamber.
inside.
We were all the way in, and we had smashed out the windows with flagpoles, and we were pushing the door. They started screaming, "Get back!" and had lined the room with their guns pointed. She was the first one through the window, and when I went to move to say stop, they had shot her.
They shot a girl in there?
Yeah, in the neck. I don't know if she's dead or alive.
What's your name?
Thomas.
Thomas.
Barani.
Where are you from?
New Jersey. I came down here because, not necessarily because I thought the whole thing is fraudulent, but I don't know, and someone should look into it. And the fact that they won't even do that,
no,
now they're shooting people. I don't want
the fact
this
they won't do it
representing
proves
me.
you that's fraudulent.
I don't want anything.
We need to wait.
They just maybe killed someone. I don't know if she's dead.
Right. I'm reaching out to my contacts to see if anything happened inside. We can't confirm. Obviously, we're outside with you guys.
Video.
That's what all that blood was.
You have a video?
She's dead, dying on the ground.
Where's the video?
I seen all the blood trailing out.
Don't everyone look at it because I don't know if she's alive. But you need to see here. That's her on the ground, covered in blood. That's her. She got shot in the neck.
Can you send that to me, please?
Holy shit, that is.
That's inside the chamber.
That was the secret service.
Yeah, it's almost like you guys are reporters.
Well, no, I appreciate you bringing him down here. Do you mind sending that to me?
Get you to record it. This
I
is
don't
weird.
know who she is or what.
No, that's okay. We can confirm those details, but I just need the video in order to be able to do that.
I've been taking videos all day as we storm through.
Can you please send me that?
Give me your number.
Okay.
I'll see if there's anybody else that'll send it to, kid.
Please. 202.
We would cut away to it,
Just
and
make sure
we'd be
people
able
know,
to carry it
because
live.
this cannot stand anymore.
The
This
president
is
is a
wrong.
master communicator.
They don't
in
represent
his
anyone.
way.
Not
And
Republican, Democrat, Independent, nobody.
Absolutely
And now they'll
could
kill
address
people.
the country.
Who are you
And when you watch the rally on Monday night in Georgia,
congressmen
the
and women, they don't
president
care.
was there
I
to
mean, they think
campaign
we're a
for
joke.
two Senate
$2,000
Republicans,
checks
but
was
he
a
even
joke to
said,
them.
and we played this clip
there's
last
people
night
filming
during
us,
our
laughing at us as
special
we march
report
down
on the
the
election.
street
I
at
don't
the,
do rallies
the
for other people. I
Department
do
of
rallies
Justice.
for
There's a
myself.
man in the window laughing at
and I
us,
think so
telling
much
us.
of the last 2 months has been about
Here,
Trump
it was
trying
a
to feel
joke to them
good
until we
about
got
himself,
inside, and then all of a sudden
and he
guns
hasn't
came
been
out.
thinking about
But I
sort
mean,
of what's in the
we're
best
at a
interest
point
of the
now it
body
can't be allowed to
politic.
stand.
And
We
a
have
lot
to
of
do
people
something.
around him
People have to do something,
don't want to
because this
get
could be
cross
you
with
or
him,
your
and
kids.
so they kind of humor him, and there have been a lot of blind quotes from
Hello?
White House folks telling our reporters, look, what's the harm in letting him stew? One of the reasons he's been so upset about Georgia is he hates the idea that he's the first Republican in almost 30 years to lose the state in a presidential election, and so he has been lashing out, and it does seem like he doesn't think through the consequences of that. Of calling everything a fraud and calling everything rigged, that people are listening, and that not everyone is in on the joke, and then he goes and speaks to thousands of people in a place like Georgia and makes all these claims, and then that shows up in the polling, and then these politicians feel pressure to put their finger in the wind and follow the current So the president has a bully pulpit. He has used the bully pulpit to raise the temperature and to push us to the brink so often over the last 4 years. And you know, he certainly has a responsibility to lower the temperature. Whether he actually does that is another matter. You know, and whether he starts.
Yeah. Wow.
There's no way they're going to take it down. You can't take the video.
The shock I have is just sort of how easy this was.
Yeah.
There are magnetometers in this Capitol. You know, you need a badge to go in. And so how is it that basically this was, you know, obviously a storming, if you will, but this...
Learned about safety and a number of different things happening.
Well, Brett, thank you. Get some more information and come on back. I just want to get to our reporters. And I'm sitting here in Atlanta, by the way, Brett, and I'm staring at a board that we used throughout the night last night. No, we don't need to show it, guys. Been 2 months ago. And you've got a U.S. Senate race that is too close to call because it's separated by 0.4 of a percentage point. And if it stays there, you're going to get a recount here to decide who controls the U.S. Senate. And then we moved to the morning hours today, and the president came out about 11:45, spoke for about an hour and a half, and he was fired up. And his supporters there had flown in last night from all over the country to gather there as he had beckoned them to come to Washington, D.C. After that, we went to the floor of the Senate, floor of the House, and we listened to Mitch McConnell make a case. We listened to Ted Cruz make his case about Arizona, and things were just starting to roll into what we expected to be an hours-long proceeding in Congress that would eventually move toward a point where they would certify the Electoral College January 6, 2021. Screen right is a moment we watched about an hour ago. Chad Pergram with us now. Not sure where you are, Chad. We haven't spoken to you in 30 minutes. What do you have now?
Brett, I want to be very clear about something. This is the most significant breach of an American government institution since the Battle of Bladensburg, August 24th, 1814, when the British came and burned the Capitol and also burned the White House. We have never had an instance of an incursion inside the U.S. Capitol building to this degree since that time. Let's be clear, the mob upended American democracy today as they try to count the Electoral College. You have people taking over the House chamber, the Senate chamber, gunshots on Capitol Hill, an utter breakdown of the constitutional process. Bedlam. Now, the question is, what do they do to get this back on pace? The House and Senate, they have recessed subject to the call of the chair. They were individually debating the Arizona slate of electoral votes. Now, at some point, they have to come back and complete that process and can vote. Under the Electoral Count Act of 1887, you can recess for a certain period of time, but once you start that joint session, which is what started with Vice President Pence presiding today at 1 o'clock, you have to conclude this process within 5 days. You basically have until the 11th of January. So it's possible that they could, if they believe that the U.S. Capitol is unsafe, to continue with this process. Nowhere does it say in the Constitution or in the House or Senate rules that you have to meet here or do this process here. I remember when we had the earthquake in Washington, D.C. in 2011, the Senate was scheduled to have a brief session, and they met down the street at the post office. You know, but the scenes today of American democracy, of officials from the Sergeant at Arms office with guns drawn inside the House chamber. I mean, we haven't had an incident with firearms in the House chamber since you had Puerto Rican nationalists shoot several members of Congress in 1954. I mean, this is remarkable that this is unfolded
people with guns
today.
drawn
And
like this
Because how do they get things back on?
I get it.
You're right. You're right on that. A few more hours of daylight.
But you need
too.
manpower in there to take these people out.
Terry,
so
why
our
have we
viewers
not
know
yet
the first
seen the National
images
Guard?
of guns drawn inside the Capitol building? I don't know if that's the House side or the Senate side. To me, it looks like the House side. But yeah, okay. So that happened a short time ago, and this just came out a moment ago. The president sent another tweet, just as Kevin McCarthy predicted, you could say. And here it reads, I'm asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful, no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That came out 4 minutes ago. We'll watch that to see whether or not there are more messages. And we shall see whether or not we see the president on camera, as Kevin McCarthy alluded to perhaps a moment ago. To our reporters in a moment here, Martha McCallum is with me, Juan Williams. Brett is with us, Andy McCarthy. Let's just take it around the horn and try and digest what we're watching and try and understand at what point the Capitol is relieved of the pressure that it's now facing. Martha, you first. Good afternoon again.
Excuse me, do you guys know Union Station? I can't even talk.
Yeah, yes, Union Station. You want to walk that way.
All right, and Massachusetts Avenue. So it's just anywhere. Thank you.
Warner just tweeted out that he's safe, but we know that. They just confirmed that shots had been fired inside of the Capitol building. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, Bill? Do you see any security personnel, any Capitol Police, anyone?
So they're by us, no. What we have by us is basically protesters and a few other folks milling around here, but the police activity is, although San Francisco, why don't you show up here? We'll get up this way. This is Constitution Avenue right here. This is the north side of the Capitol. This is where the Senate side of the Capitol is and the Senate buildings are. A lot of police activity up there. That was just Capitol Hill Police. Well, then they were joined by Metropolitan Police Department. That's Washington, D.C. Police. They've been streaming up in that area to try to assist on all of this. All of that police manpower has been to congregate towards those office buildings. So you can kind of see through the trees there on the left. That's the Russell Senate office building, one of the primary office buildings on the Senate side. And then across the street, you've got the Capitol complex. It's basically a mirror image on the south side of the Capitol, the other side of the Capitol. And you've got police officers who are congregating to the building because that's where the breach is, that's where the issue is. We're standing out right here. We've got plenty of police vehicles, and we've seen ambulances and plenty of other emergency vehicles out here, but there is very...
It just says you're still calling. It doesn't say you picked up. Okay, I don't know how to hang up on you now. Here, I clicked merge. Never mind.
Sits during debate in the Senate. That's the chair that Vice President Pence was sitting in at one point during the debate in the Senate. And there was a protester who got in, took the chair of the presiding officer of the Senate and said Trump won that election. He was not the only one, obviously, to get in. That shot was taken by a cool producer.
Is this the North Lawn?
This is the north side, yeah. Perhaps millions across the country are praying right now that today we will change the outcome of the election. And they know that's not possible, but they're giving them that.
I'm not hearing anything but Nora.
It is a profoundly dangerous miscalculation. But I'm not like sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to punish everybody that went along with it. I don't. That's not the way we operate, right? We're not enemies. We may at times be political opponents. We can have disagreements. And that's the idea. It doesn't need to descend into chaos. I mean, we have protesters standing off against armed police in the Capitol, the vice president being rushed off the House floor, barricading the House floor. Like, I don't care what your theory about the Constitution is, or whether you're a far left progressive or a centrist or a hard right conservative. That should embarrass you. Like, that's something we can all agree on is bad.
Congressman David French over at the Dispatch essentially said what the president has done, he did it with malice, and that,
hey, Chris,
you know, maybe he needs to be impeached and removed from office. And as you know, what comes with impeachment is a lifetime ban from holding federal office, which would be the point of this.
Okay.
Do you believe he has lost that is something that maybe you ought to contemplate, because he has lost his ability to govern in this country?
I've never considered the argument. I don't want to make
if you guys are watching online right now, we are on the north side of the Capitol, where you can see a lot is happening. I'm going to let you guys just look for yourself. So we've been here for about the past 45 minutes, and we have seen people scale the side of the north side of the Capitol here, climbing up onto the balcony. You can see someone is doing that right now. Someone has tied off yellow ropes. You can see through them over, and now you can see a man trying to get up. There's been a lot happening. You can see, if we pan over here, police have now blocked this door several times over the last 45 minutes. You can hear some boos happening right now. There's a man with a megaphone standing in front of the police.